it lists some specific criteria that should be used in the solicitation, as well as the criteria for evaluation. It also clearly states that the state will only outsource this function if it can be demonstrated that the selected provider can provide these services at a cost less than what the state currently provides it. So take a couple minutes to look at that bill. We've taken that piece and combined it with a previous solicitation that we did on statewide 1019. We wound up not awarding that last solicitation because we knew this bill was coming through, and now we've incorporated the new language in with what we previously asked for, and as you would expect, since it's been a couple of years since we did that process, we're a little smarter now. We kind of know a little bit more about what we're looking for. So we've built out the specifications for that RFP a little bit more than what it was a couple of years ago. So I wanted to just at a very high level talk through what we're looking for in a provider on this service. But then I know we've got Leah Moat, who is our Director of Client Experience, on here as well. That can probably take us through a whole new level of detail as questions start arising. So at a high level, what we're looking for is a provider to do two real things for us. One is to manage our fleet of end user devices. And when I say manage the fleet, I mean the hardware as well as the software. And I realize that injects a level of complexity that maybe hadn't been contemplated before. So this is something that'll probably be a phased-in approach on the software side. But then we're also looking for a provider who can provide the day-to-day services and kind of soup to nuts. So when we talk about services for endpoints, I'm really looking for someone who can, in addition to providing a device for a monthly cost, sorry, it looks like I got the bill wrong. Thank you, Glenda, for correcting that in the chat box. In addition to providing a device for a monthly cost, we're looking for someone who can do the hardware support on it, the warranty, do those hardware fixes, as well as support for the operating system, the Office suite, as well as really anything else that would be considered part of the state's standard software build, up to and including interfacing with peripherals. So this is a fairly substantial change in scope. And so we want to make sure you guys take a chance to look at that and kind of think it through. We're looking for some creative solutions here. We're trying not to be overly prescriptive in how the solution is provided. We believe that you are the experts. But we are going to provide some guidance within the specifications around how we currently provide these services. So you'll see that we've included our service level agreements. These are the metrics that we use to gauge our success. We're not necessarily saying that that's what we're expecting you to provide, but we wanted to provide some context so you can frame your own response and tell us what you think is an appropriate model at an appropriate cost, right? So at a high level, that's really what we're looking for. You're going to hear us talk about it as device as a service, but the idea is we're going to pay a subscription by user in the state to provide a device, as well as all of the services and support that goes along with that device. And if you kind of think this through, we're really talking about a provider coming alongside the state to help support. I do not want to be in a situation where we're asking our end users to know that this is something that I call X provider for, or this is something I need to call the state's help desk for. I want them to continue to call the state's help desk, but we need to figure out how to integrate our support structure so that it's seamless to the end user. And that's the scope of what I had to talk about today. I'm happy to answer any questions or turn it over to Leah to talk about more details.
Thanks, Matt. Leah, are you ready? Are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just going to kind of go through at a high level some of the specific things that we're asking for. some of the stuff that we're looking for in those high level categories, those deployment services, and there we're really talking about soup to nuts. So the staging for deployments, application discovery to get someone back up to where whatever was on their existing devices, asset tagging, getting the devices encrypted, all of the coordination that goes along with the deployment, redeployment services, so someone leaves and comes back. We're also have in there to talk about office moves when someone moves and we're moving devices. We also talk about bench stock and having a loaner pool and having that available to agencies, the installation and setup, and then also the return and retrieval of those devices. Part of that is also the peripherals and being able to support those and setting those up as well. The computer's not, it's only as good as all the other stuff, connections. And then also there's a big section about device management. And so that was the piece that Matt kind of alluded to, where the hardware and the software managing the fleet comes in. And then the big section is about support. And so Matt mentioned the kind of 3 big areas that we're looking at for support of really a provider being able to provide the support for those 3 big areas. And then the last couple of sections that we have are about application packaging, pushing software, and that's also going to be in a phased approach for those software that the agencies need. And the other thing that we added, I'm getting down to that level, is we changed some of the configurations that we're asking for. So in addition to some of the ones that we had previously. So those are just kind of the high level, without going into each one, that's kind of the high level things that we're asking for.
That's great, Leah. Do we have any questions from anyone out there? Feel free to chime in or type in the chat box. Can we get a rough estimate on total number of devices or users?
So I'll take a stab at that real quick. So total users is on the magnitude of about 30,000, but I'll tell you that during certain periods of time it will spike. Specifically, we kind of think about tourism. They have a large seasonal workforce that comes on during the summer, so you'll see increases there, and that's probably something else that we should talk about. There needs to be some level of flexibility built into the model. We really want agencies to pay for what they consume, not necessarily commit to a 3-year lease of an asset. So I'm definitely not asking for leasing on steroids here. This is something we want to see a service offering in a subscription model. So I think that's a good point. So that's the number of users, and I see Leah's put the current end user population in there. Obviously, devices, there are more than that. As a rule, we're trying to get down to 1 compute device and 1 voice device per state employee. So I think we'll see we'll see those numbers come into alignment a little bit as we go through the next 12 to 18 months. So just give you a little perspective on that. The RFP release dates, and I'm asking the team to be pretty aggressive on this. I'll tell you, we're still putting the final touches on the specifications now, but I've asked the team to be ready to put this thing on the streets on June 17th. And I've also challenged the team with having an award completed by or around Labor Day. So it's a fairly tight time frame when you think about public sector procurements. But that's because we also have an aggressive implementation timeline. I'm hoping that the new provider will be on board and fully operational by January. So I thank you for the question, Chris. I think it's important that we kind of frame that and tell you what the parameters are that we're working within. I know both of those timelines are fairly aggressive, but we're only here for a short period of time. We want to make sure we have an impact while we're here, right?
Hey, quick question, Matt. You mentioned trying to get down to one voice device and one compute device. Are you going to be looking for support for those voice devices as well, or is this going to be just focused on the compute devices?
This solicitation is really focused on the compute devices. If you have offerings around that, I would not discourage you from including offerings for voice devices, but really the evaluation is going to be focused on the compute devices. I see David Cameron's asking about our existing fleet. I would be interested in seeing responses that would include a service for supporting the existing fleet in addition to the device and services as part of the overarching program. So if your company is willing to support the existing fleet, please state that, and also include pricing, of course. Let's see, Chris is asking about the current operating cost. I don't believe that's going to be included in the RFP, and Leah, please correct me if I'm mistaken. Really what we're looking for here is what it should cost to provide this level of service. And I'll also tell you, I think this part of the reason why we expanded the scope of this beyond just outsourcing PC support was because we felt like this was an opportunity to change the conversation to more of a quality discussion as opposed to just price. And I'll give you the disclaimer. I do not want you guys to interpret that as that there is a blank check now. Obviously, we are still stewards of the state. We want to protect the investment that our taxpayers make. But I do feel like there's an opportunity here to improve the level of service that we provide to the state employees. So I don't know that the current operating cost will be terribly relevant when we look at the overall scope here.
Okay, that's great. Great questions. Any others? Okay, if we don't have any more questions about the RFP, we will move on. Leah, I believe, is going to stay on for a while, so if you come up with something, feel free to put it in the chat. And Matt, I do appreciate you coming in and speaking to us.
No, thank you, Glenn. And I appreciate everybody's time and hope you find these webinars productive and beneficial for your companies.
Okay, thank you, Matt. All right, I'd like to introduce Karen Philbin. She is our IT Technology Strategy Manager, and I believe she is going to speak to the other couple of projects. If she's not, she can introduce the people on her team that will. We have the statewide HD video storage solution and the mass communication solution that we would like to go over. So Karen, when you're ready.
Okay. Thanks, Glenda. Good afternoon, everyone. And so the other two listed here projects, not quite the grand scale of what we have just been discussing, but nevertheless something there is certainly some interest in. The statewide HD video storage and editing solution is something that there are some agencies that have expressed some interest in looking for some type of solution that they can use for their agencies. So we wanted to put it out to you guys. If you have anything in your line of offerings that would fall into this category, we'd like to hear from you. And so that one's probably the smallest of the two. The other one, or it could grow big depending on the agencies and how it morphs. But the mass communication solution, There we're looking for what offerings are available in the way of like a mass notification, mass communication, and not necessarily just in the like for public safety or for safety reasons, but also just in pure communication. How can we get the word out quickly? And different agencies have a slightly different use for this, but we're looking for any of you that may have, again, something along the lines of that kind of ability in your solutions. So, and I have, Rick, if you, I don't know if you have anything additional you want to say about the video storage solution, or, and then David Cameron's also on for mass communication.
This is Rick. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
The video storage varies greatly as far as requirements within our agencies. We have a number of agencies that use different types of media, video streaming, and that sort of thing, but they also use different vendors. Some of them wish to store it. Some of them are concerned about legal requirements for encryption and that sort of thing. So whatever we store, we need the ability to have redaction on some of the files. So whatever storage media that happens to be in, we know that it would probably be compressed in some format, or if it's on a thin provisioning platform, would need to be pulled down and then edited on another device. So these are the kind of some things you need to keep in mind. You know, you have everything from legal requirements also to just day-to-day training media that we would want to store. And those files could actually become quite large over time, depending on the retention of those files. So that's really all I have to say about that.
Any questions on the HD video storage solution we're looking for? Okay. On how about on the mass communication solution? Questions? I know you guys are all excited about the device as a service, so your wheels are turning.
I have a question on the, are you guys using any sort of platform currently for a mass communication solution?
That's a good question. I think other than the Gov Delivery.
Hi, this is Dave Cameron. Yeah, the Gov Delivery has a module in it that our emergency planning and risk people use now for putting things out there. But I mean, one of the things I would love to see in a potential solution would be the ability to incorporate other agencies into it. We have emergency management, we have public safety, we have the Department of Transportation, all have communication systems of one sort or of another that are pointed at the public. And it would not be mandatory on a contract like this, but I would certainly love to see some options that we could either dovetail in their systems, or even better yet, over time, unify those systems.
Yeah, I agree with that, David. This is Rick Fullerton. We actually need some sort of a push notification from emergency management that goes out to different endpoint devices. That could be anything from digital signage to email to just notifications in general, maybe to our phone systems. So anytime we have a statewide emergency, we have one central point that's pushing out a unified communication.
And that was going to be my point also, Rick. This is Sergio, by the way. today, Gov Delivery does emails, maybe texts. Then each agency has their own Twitter feed. They post on other social media sites. I think when we're looking for a solution here, we're looking for one place to send out an emergency broadcast that can then deliver the message in multi-channels.
Sardu, are we still thinking on the notion that this could be also a offering we would open up to local municipalities and counties?
Yeah, schools. Yeah.
Absolutely. In looking into this, and any vendor out there knows this better than me, the schools are all over the map with little tools that they seem to be using to do this. We really are looking for that multimedia unified approach here.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, do we have any more questions for Karen, Rick, or David on any of the other two projects?
I believe the answer to Chris's question is it's all being done in-house by the state. The third-party advisor would make it really easy. We like it hard.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? If you would like to present any solutions for any of our project requests, email me at sam@omes.ok.gov. We will send out a script to facilitate a demo for us, and we would love to hear from you. So please let us know if you have a solution that will work. And if you have any other questions about Device as a Service, please send those on to Sam as well, and I will see about getting those answered for you. Okay, I'm going to make this the last call for questions before we end this meeting.
Thank y'all very much.
Sarju, Leah, Karen, thanks for being here today. David, Cameron, Rick Fulton, thanks for your input today. It was great. Appreciate it.
Thanks for hosting, Glenda. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for your time.